Hello there. Welcome to the Kirk Minahan Wrap Up Show for April 30th, 2021. Yesterday's show was called Ridin because Rico is a Rico Rider. You might know him as Pick Central on Barstool. He has now joined Team Kirk Minahan for the dozen tournament. Jared is out, Rico is in, and it was not official yesterday, but as of this morning, the dozen tournament tweeted out that Rico will be taking Jared's place. So big news on that front. So I'm solo today. Gearhead Blind Owl was unable to join me. He's dealing with something to do with some girl or something like that. So make sure to go check out Blind Owl blogs as he normally joins me on Fridays. But rocking solo today. So let's get started. So the show kind of started off. Kirk comes in, he asks, "What's that smell?" And Steve says, "Indian food." Now, I know Kirk does not like pungent foods. He said this many times. He says he hates the smell of Chinese food. He just hates anything pungent. He hates anything very strong. And Steve was eating obviously some very big sort of Chinese food or Indian food. I'm sorry. So Kirk made him go and put it in another room. I don't think Steve himself recognized how upset Kirk actually was. I think Steve might have thought it was kind of a joke because I know at one point Kirk says, "If you ever bring in Indian food again, you're fired." And Steve goes, "Well, I'm going to because it's really good Indian food." So I just think that's a little crazy to not understand that Kirk just hates that sort of food. He just not necessarily the sort of food, but just to have it lingering around the office is not a good look. So for Steve's sake, I hope he does not ever bring in any sort of pungent food in ever again, because I just don't think it will end well. Like Kirk said, he likes pizza, he likes plain hamburgers. But you can't have pungent Indian food in the office. I know Steve's been working hard on the case and everything like that, but I just don't think he understood how serious Kirk was yesterday when he was talking about that. So so the main point of the show today was they were talking about the dozen tournament that is taking place next Tuesday and Wednesday in New York City. It is confirmed that they will not be going to New York. They confirmed that on Wednesday. And they went into yesterday's show thinking, okay, Jared's going to be able to join us remotely. The three of us, we're going to be able to, play remotely. They are contenders. They are the number 2 seed. Some may say they're favorites. And Jared said he is not sure exactly if he'll be able to even remotely join the team. So he said, he's like, "Oh, looks like you guys are just riding with 2 people." And Kirk goes, "No, no, 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 no. We're not playing shorthanded for this tournament. I know, people say what you want about Jared as a player when it comes to his dozen trivia skills, but playing with 2 people instead of 3 is just silly in my opinion. There's no possible need to do that." Jared said, "How, is Mike smart?" Kirk said, "No." And I wasn't even thinking about this, but Kirk said, "Might be time to ride," because if you are unaware, so this is how Rico Ryder got kicked off of his team. He was on a team and they were supposed to play Team Nightmare, which was Feidelberg, Casey, and Cons. So Rico, when he doesn't like someone, he just will not engage in anything they do ever. So he said that he has beef with Cons and he has some sort of beef on a lesser extent with Feidelberg. So he said, "I'm not going to play. I'm not going to play." So his teammates were like, you're kind of throwing us out there. We could, win to make it in and, sneak in on a playoff team." But he said, "Nope." He said, "Don't care." He's like, "If it was in the tournament, I'll play him, but I'm not playing him outside the tournament." So the team was kind of shit out of luck with 2 players. Then Dave Portnoy, being a rider himself, said, "You know what? I'll step in for Rico. I will, make the sacrifice. I'll join the team and see if we can sneak into the tournament. I don't know if this originally all went down on the Dozen Trivia. No, not the Dozen Trivia, the Dave Portnoy show. So it was a couple weeks back. If you want to go check that out, they have more. They go into more depth about that. So Rico ended up not playing. Dave ended up playing, and then the team, I believe they're called the is it? I believe it's either ZD or the Misfits. I forget which one they are, but they ended up barely sneaking in. I think they're in a play-in game for the 12th seed, and Dave said he will join, but it's up to the remaining 2 members of the team. So they got together and they decided it was between either Dave Portnoy or Rico Bosco, and they decided to go with Dave Portnoy. Obviously, Rico was upset with this. He took exception to it. I think he's done with that team now. So Dave Portnoy replaced him, and he was kind of a free agent going into. He was kind of no one had kind of like he was just teamless. He was homeless, and I think Kirk saw this, and as you know, Kirk and Rico are very, very, very good friends as of recently. I believe they're getting lunch sometime soon. So Kirk said this would be a perfect opportunity to kind of snatch Rico up and have him join the team. And he brings something to the table in which both Kirk and Steve, and even to a lesser extent, Jared, don't know. I mean, Rico is a sport nut. He loves gambling. He follows all the sports. He'll know players. He knows a bunch of other like random shit. I think he will complement Steve and Kirk very, very nicely in the up and coming days and in the at the Wednesday show on the tapings of the Dozen. So I hope to see. The one thing I do know that they did state on Friday's show that was incorrect is they say so everything's being taped on Wednesday, but they're rolling it out over the course of May. So they're going to have to, I'm sure Jeff Lowe does not want people talking about who actually won the tournament or anything like that. So they're going to have to keep that kind of under wraps, which I could see that being very difficult for Rico to keep that under wraps if he does in fact win. He seems to be the kind of person who would go out and kind of brag. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm saying I would probably do the same thing. But so they probably will have to sign like an NDA, whatever the dozen form of an NDA is, and do that. So I do think that is going to be interesting just to see how the team reacts to it, because so they are only going to play Wednesday. They can play up to a total of 3 matches. If they play all 3 matches and win, obviously they're the champions. Kirk's going to want to take a victory lap, but I could see it being difficult to have to try to hold that in and not let everyone know who won, because I think Jeff Lowe, he plans on, I forget how many matches there are, but he plans on doing like 3 matches a week leading up into the championship. So that should be a lot of fun. Next week is going to be exciting. Sounds like Steve and Kirk might be there. They're not entirely sure where they're headed, but it sounds like they may be out of state, out of studio for next week. I know they mentioned Vermont, upstate New York, maybe back down to Walhalla, South Carolina. Sounds like the case is just taking them everywhere. They are officially halfway done with the case, 4 episodes out of 8. So, and they're still taking trips, which is just unbelievable to think that, things are still evolving. They're still learning new things that, might contradict things they thought they knew. So sounds like they will be out of the studio next week and working on the case. So we're probably going to get a couple of remote shows next week from a hotel room or something of that nature, but no big deal. But I'm just looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to the Dozen tournament starting. Obviously, just seeing them play for the first time. The first round, there's a good chance they face Team Nightmare again, which would be great to see. Because Rico can really talk shit. If Rico goes up against Team Nightmare, he does not like cons, and he isn't friendly with Feidelberg for some reason. I think like Feidelberg, like Rico said hi to Feidelberg when he first like joined Barstool, and Feidelberg like didn't say hi back or something like that. It was something very small, but Rico's a good guy. I know he's going to come through for Kirk in regards to that. So Rico Riders and the Minifans are teaming up. Should be a very, very, very exciting time. The last thing, I mean, they kind of went back and forth. There was talk of like, oh, Kirk, would you ever go to a baseball game with me? Jared talked about like his wedding a little bit. If he ever got married, who would be invited from Barstool. I kind of agree that I think Jared would probably keep it small. It was interesting how he said Dave Portnoy would not even get the invite, because the only reason I would think he would invite Dave is I think Jared said that there's a 0.00001% chance he would actually go to that. But if he gets the invite, I think he's going to send some sort of gift, I mean, and Dave's got some decent money. I think Jared would like a nice gift from his Barstool dad over there. So I found that interesting. There was a conversation at the end about abortions where I think Kirk had a very, very funny comment where he started talking about, just with Steve. Steve's obviously very pro-life. He considers it murder. And he was talking to Steve about it. And Steve was coming up with like this twisted word answer. He wasn't just straight up saying yes or no. And Kirk goes, "What the fuck? Are you running for office or something?" Like, just fucking spit it out. I think it's great when we get to see Kirk kind of get Steve and his SE, kind of bring him out into his SE persona. I think that's always fun. And meanwhile, Jared's just like, "Oh yeah, I'm pro-choice." It was very obvious for him. The more and more I listen to Jared on the show, the more it's becoming my favorite show of the week. I've been loving Friday shows. I think the chemistry between Kirk and Jared is just it's so different. It's such a different dynamic than the Mike and Kirk chemistry that we've been used to these past 2 years, that I think it just brings a whole nother dimension to the show, and I can't wait to continue to see what happens, especially on Friday. If Jared joins the show next Friday, the tournament's already done. I don't know if they'll really be talking about it that much, but it will be interesting to see. So that about does it for today's wrap up, or yesterday's wrap up. Like I said, I was solo today. Blind Owl couldn't make it. I got the thing at the Kowloon tonight. Hopefully that should be a lot of fun. And I will talk to you guys soon.